So joining me now to talk about this latest phase in the war is Jonathan Conricus, a former spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces. And Jonathan, here we are again speaking together a year ago, obviously, when this horrific phase of this conflict began. So what does, when Prime Minister Netanyahu says that there will be reprisal, that it will be severe, that Iran will pay a price, what does that mean?
Yes, hello, Erin. We were supposed to be commemorating a year from October 7 this weekend and thinking about the casualties, the Nova Music Festival, and what Hamas did to Israel on the 7th of October. But instead, it is, as you said, a very, very dense news cycle with ground troops in Lebanon and strikes in Dahya, and of course, the Iranian strike on Israel yesterday. I think that what the Iranian attack, the second massive Iranian attack on Israel does, it opens up a lot of opportunities. And at this time, I think Israel can choose between different groups of targets, all depending on really what the strategy is and what Israel wants to achieve. And very importantly, what kind of support Israel can get from the US and other Western countries. And in more detail, one group of targets would be, yes, Erin?
No, I go ahead with the groups of targets. I was curious, obviously, also about the likelihood of striking nuclear targets in Iran.
Yeah. So that's exactly where I was going to. So there's one group of targets which are more regime related, seats of government, places of control, perhaps whereabouts of leaders, etc., in Iran, with the desired effect of unstabilizing the regime and striking the regime itself. Another group of targets could be economic infrastructure, military economic infrastructure, which is part of how the Revolutionary Guard is able to export weapons and money to different terror organizations around the world that are attacking Israel, like Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad in Syria, and the Houthis, etc. That's the second group. And then a third group, which of course is perhaps the most sensitive currently, would be all of the infrastructure related to Iran's illicit nuclear weapons program. I think that Israel has had a lot of time over the years to collect intelligence, to assess and to prepare. Israel definitely has had a lot of time to prepare an Air Force attack against them. But I think it will boil down to what will Israel's strategy be, as in where do we want to be half a year from now or a year from now? And perhaps most importantly, what will be said and agreed between Washington and Jerusalem?
And that is the most important thing. Do you think that the United States would back Israel on specifically nuclear facility attacks, but also what you mentioned at the beginning, which I think anyone who hears has, a lot of fear of a much wider conflict, and that is if you're actually going to be targeting government buildings and government leaders in Tehran itself? Do you have U.S. backing for that?
Yeah, so that remains to be seen, and I think that there is. I'm trying to read the American administration, the Biden administration, and I'm trying to understand how much of an opportunity they sense that there is here. I understand that it's an election cycle, close to elections in the US, and of course, the entire region is following every word from the presidential and the vice presidential debates and all of the communications coming out of Washington and the US, looking for clues to see where the US is standing, where the candidates are standing. But I think that there's a big opportunity here to perhaps do more regarding Iran's nuclear program than the world has failed to do in the last, I would say, 7 to 8 years. Perhaps more can be achieved, yes, albeit with a certain risk attached to it, no doubt. But looking at how the Iranian regime has been operating, what they've been doing is advancing steadily with their nuclear weapons program, despite complaints, despite oversight, despite agreements, etc. But at the end of the day, they are advancing towards it.
All right, Jonathan Conricus, thank you very much.